Hey guys, it's Carl. So I've made the switch over to the brand new Google Pixel 7, specifically the 7 Pro, for almost the last week now. These are my thoughts. There's a couple differences that I think are worth the upgrade from the 6, and if you're eyeing this new device from Pixel, definitely tune in. There's a lot of new improvements coming to the camera. But first off, if you're deciding between which device to get, whether that's the 7 Pro and the standard 7, couple small differences. The first, of course, being the overall size, obviously the 7 Pro being larger. It's actually very similar to the differences between the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro Max. So 6.7 inches, it's got that larger display, higher resolution, higher refresh rate, 120 Hertz LTPO display compared to 6.3 inches, 90 Hertz over on the standard Pixel 7. It's got more RAM, but they both share the new G2 Tensor chip, and in honesty, performance across both devices is pretty identical. It also has a new portrait camera and this little cutout, the visor, which the Pixel is known for. It has a glossy finish over on the Pros and a matte finish over on the standard 7s, and other than that, the build quality seems the same. They both have glass backs, which collect a ton of fingerprints, to be honest, and I think maybe this lighter lemongrass color maybe hides them a bit, but Dbrand has their new digital camo skins and their new grip cases for the Pixel 7 line if you want to protect your phone, so I will leave a link down below. But other than that, of course, the pricing is the biggest difference, so $599 for the standard Pixel 7 and $899 for the Pixel 7 Pro. Still starting at 128 gigs, I think, at least for the Pro models. They suffer that just like the iPhone. That should at least start at 256 in my opinion, and especially at that Canadian dollar, we are suffering. It is close to $1,200 for the Pixel 7 Pro. So these aren't cheap devices. I will put the Pixel 7 off to the side. These are my thoughts on the Pixel. It is running Android 13 out of the box, very fluid, nice and quick, and I actually switched before I got this to my Pixel 6 Pro just to get a bit of a refresh. This is noticeably less buggy, less hiccupy. I'm not getting any of those weird crashes. It still has all of the great things that stock Android has to offer, like theme widgets or the theme wallpaper, which is still in beta, even though it's been out for over a year now. Customizing icons has never been easier, but still a year later, for example, Instagram, the most used app in my arsenal other than YouTube, is still stuck on its stock icon. I think that's a pretty easy change to make. The rest of the phone feels nice and premium in the hand. I know that most people will rock protection like I mentioned. You won't get to notice the nice stainless steel or the metal banding on the outsides. It feels like Google has tightened up the build quality slightly, but RIP to the colored on and off / volume rocker buttons. That's something that I thought was always a little bit playful from Google, but this kind of feels more in line with the Pro models. Maybe on the standard Pixel 7, they still could have kept that lying around. It's just one of those nice little Easter eggs that no longer exist, sadly. Switching on over to the back, which is a main reason why people go towards Google phones, is for its computational photography and for how well Pixel devices truly perform. So we have a 50 megapixel main, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel telephoto. I will leave some sample shots here. I won't speak my mind just yet, so I'll let you scroll through these and see some of my favorite shots that I've taken over the past week. We've had some really nice colors up here. Dynamic range, picture quality is some of the best. I'll create a separate video for my comparison between the iPhone 13 Pro Max. I'll leave a couple shots here. I won't tease too many, but when I switched on over to video, once again, I'll pause this video for a second. I'll create this little reel that you can look through. Once again, video quality, some of the best on a smartphone. I had a ton of fun editing that sequence, but for some of the shots, especially on the 2x lens, which is technically the bin down version of the 50 megapixel main, I found it to be a tad bit on the soft side. I know that can be tweaked in software, and I just got this phone, but even for the 12 megapixel ultra wide, it has a new autofocus feature. it was hunting for focus, especially on some of the landscape shots, which shouldn't be the case since it should just kind of set that to a far distance. I've never had that issue on another device. Once again, something that can be tweaked, but yeah, it happened more often than I would have liked on this. But I guess for the photos and the videos, the ones that I got right, which were 95% of them, like I said, probably one of the best smartphone cameras. I'd take this over the S22, S22 Ultra as an example. I think Google's computational photography is on point. And with that new G2, that new Tensor chip, we actually have this new feature called Unblur, which actually applies to any photos in your Google photo library. It doesn't have to be taken with the new Pixel 7. It uses, once again, computational photography, a lot of AI, for any photos that are slightly blurry, slightly out of focus, and to sharpen them or post-process them after the fact. So I know a lot of creators had hands-on time at the event in New York, which those stock photos look good, but there's this one photo, as an example, I took of Link when he was a puppy. It was slightly out of focus. It's one of my biggest regrets taking photos. This actually worked really well. Now that it's in my Google Photos library, I can just hit edit and hit that unblur, and it makes the slightest tweak and does a half decent job at making it a lot tighter, a lot crispier, which is something that, you know, I'd have to go into Photoshop. I was playing with sharpness. It didn't do as well of a job as this simple little one button press. The new G2 chip also gives a cinematic blur, which essentially gives you that bokeh-like effect, once again, all computational to your video. And it also has cool things like note-taking capabilities when you can actually dictate your notes and have them written out in text format. It's actually the best transcription service that I've used. It's miles and miles ahead of what Siri can offer, and I think Google's computational game, not just in their photography, but in general, Google is just such a powerhouse at that, just really outshines everything else on the market, especially when you pair that with Google Assistant. Once again, the best across the industry. If you're not sucked into that Apple black hole and rely on, say, like a MacBook, and you need to have your iPhone, everything talking together, the Pixel 7 Pro is probably the best Android device that you can get. It just depends. Will Google be able to keep up the updates? Will they make it not as buggy as the Pixel 6 from last year? And in terms of battery life, which is the last thing, easily pushing a day, day and a half, even though I was crunching on this pretty much all week. I was able to last till the next day. So this one does have 5,000 milliamps. It's pretty much on par with every other flagship right now. I am happy that Google didn't increase the price. I think that's, once again, the same across most smartphone manufacturers, that we didn't see that little price increase, which we were all kind of expecting. So definitely, if you have anything older than the Pixel 6, so if you're coming from the 5 or even a device 2-3 years older, it is worth the upgrade for sure. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know your thoughts down below if you're into the black. I know the hazel, that new color, was the one that I was eyeing, but once again, black, lemongrass, probably gonna skin it up or protect it anyways. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace.